Hello my dear students, I hope all of you are doing well and staying healthy. Today we are going to learn one of the most important topics in English language, that is subject-verb agreement. I am Pragya Lakshmi, PGT English from Kendriya Vidyalaya, Aurangabad. Before getting into today's topic, let us recall the definition of a sentence and its parts. Let us begin with a sentence. A sentence is a set of words which is complete in itself or which makes complete sense. In other words, we can say that a sentence is a grammatical unit of one or more words that expresses an independent idea or an independent sentence, a question, a request, a command, an exclamation, etc. Have a look at the examples given there in the slide. The first example, the little Jack Homer sat in a corner. Here you can see there is a set of words and they have been put together in such a way that it is giving some meaning. So it can be categorized as a sentence. Children, any set of words randomly put together that does not make any sense cannot be called a sentence. It must give some meaning to be called a sentence. In the same way, look at the other two examples. Joe waited for the bus and Mary went to the park. Both set of words, as you can see, both set of words are giving a sense or some meaning, so they also qualify the definition of a sentence. Now come to the parts of a sentence. A complete sentence has two parts and they are subject and predicate. In every sentence we mention a noun or a pronoun and then we say something about that noun or pronoun. The noun or pronoun we mention is the subject, and whatever we say about the noun or pronoun, that noun or pronoun is the predicate. In simple words, a subject is a noun or a pronoun that performs an action in a sentence. Means subject is the doer in a sentence. Or the subject is what or whom the sentence is about. And the part of the sentence that tells something about the subject is called predicate. Let us look at the sentences given below to get a more clear meaning. The first sentence, the little grey bunny ate the orange carrot. Here, the little grey bunny is the subject, as in this sentence we are talking about the noun bunny. So, the little grey bunny is a noun, hence it is a subject. Ate the orange carrot is the predicate, as it tells what the subject, the little grey bunny, does. Let us look at the second sentence. Mary likes to run at the public park. In this case, the person who is doing the action is Mary. So, Mary is the doer of the sentence. Hence, Mary is the subject. And likes to run at the public park is a predicate, as it tells what Mary likes to do, as it is telling something about the subject. In the third sentence, my brother throws him a ball. Here, the person who is throwing the ball is my brother. So, my brother is the doer in the sentence. So, my brother is the subject. Throws him a ball is the predicate because it is telling what my brother does. I hope subject and predicate is clear. Now, a predicate may have two parts, a verb and an object. You all are well aware of what a verb is. A verb is an action word. It is a word that conveys an action. It is a word in the sentence that conveys an action. So in the first sentence, ate is the verb. In the second sentence, likes and to run are the verbs. Likes is the finite verb, whereas to run is the non-finite verb. And in the third sentence, throws is the verb. Now come to the object. The little grey bunny ate the orange carrot. Here the yellow part is the predicate, and we are talking about the part of the predicate. We talked about the verb, and the second part is the object. So the orange carrot is the object. The second noun or pronoun in the sentence is called the object, or the noun or the pronoun in the sentence that receives the action of the subject is called the object. Here carrot is receiving the action done by the subject, the little grey bunny. So the orange carrot is the object. In the second sentence, at the public park is the object, and in the third sentence, him a ball is the object, where ball is a direct object and him is the indirect object. Direct objects are the nouns or pronouns receiving the action. Here ball is receiving the action, so it is a direct object, whereas the indirect objects are the nouns or pronouns affected by the action. So here him is the indirect because it is getting affected by the action. Now let us discuss our topic for the day, subject-verb agreement. You can also call it subject-verb concord. Do not get confused with the word concord, because concord also means agreement or harmony. So either you can call it subject-verb agreement or subject-verb concord, both are correct. We have already discussed subjects and verbs in the previous slides. Students, it is very important for a subject to agree with its verb, and therefore we have something in English grammar known as subject-verb agreement. According to subject-verb agreement, subjects and verbs must agree with each other in number for a sentence to make sense, otherwise the sentence will not sound right. Often by what is called the error of proximity. First, let me explain you the term, the error of proximity. Sometimes in a sentence, we get a subject which is a phrase consisting of more than one noun. Like in the example, the quality of mangoes were not good. Here in the sentence, we have two nouns. One is quality and another one is mangoes, where mangoes is a plural noun and quality is a singular noun. Students get confused in choosing the verb, and in confusion they choose a verb that agrees with the noun that stands near it instead of the proper subject, and this can cause error. This is called error of proximity. Like in the example, the quality of mangoes were not good. Here we have used plural verb. In the first example, we have used plural verb were, W-E-R-E, were, which agrees with the plural noun mangoes. But mangoes is not the proper subject. The proper subject is the quality, and the quality is singular. That's why the first sentence is wrong. The quality of mangoes were not good is wrong, whereas the quality of mangoes was good. Since we have singular subject, so we must use a singular verb. Let us get a more clear picture with the rule number 1, which says subjects and verbs must agree in number. Means a singular subject takes a singular verb, whereas a plural subject takes a plural verb. It means a singular subject must take a singular verb, whereas a plural subject must take a plural verb. Let us see the examples. First example, Bill goes to the market every day. In the sentence, our subject here is Bill and our verb is goes. Since we have singular subject, so we will take a singular verb to make the sentence correct. The second sentence, the books are on the table. Here, books are in plural form. So according to the rule, when the subject is plural, we will take a plural verb. So we have taken are. So the sentence goes like, the books are on the table. Since rule number 1 is clear to us that a singular subject takes a singular verb and a plural subject takes a plural verb. Now look at the sentences and find out why the first sentence is wrong and the second one is correct. In the first sentence, the quality of mangoes were not good. Here we have used a plural verb were according to the plural noun which is near to the verb instead of the correct subject, which is a singular noun, the quality. And the rule says that a singular noun will always take a singular verb. That makes the sentence incorrect. But in the second sentence, we have used a singular verb was, which is according to the rule. So it is correct. Means we have used was according to the proper subject, that is the quality, and the subject is singular in nature, so we have used a singular verb. Mangoes is not our subject, so we have not used verb according to the mangoes. So the subject, the correct subject, correct sentences, the quality of mangoes was good. In the same way, the third sentence, his knowledge of Indian vernaculars is far beyond the common. Here again we have a singular subject, that is his knowledge. His knowledge is singular in nature, so we have used singular verb is. We have not used the verb according to the vernaculars, that is plural in nature, which is near to the verb, because vernaculars is not the subject. We have subject his knowledge in the sentence, so we have used singular verb is, which is according to the rule number 1, that a singular subject takes a singular verb and a plural subject takes a plural verb, which makes it correct. Now come to the rules for subject verb concord of persons, which is given in the following table. Rule number 1 is the first person plural we takes a plural verb in all tenses. Means whenever we have we as a subject in a sentence, we'll always use a plural verb. Like in the example I've written, we leave today. The second person you takes a plural verb in all tenses. Like you is the subject, so we have used a plural verb are. So whenever we will have you as the subject in a sentence, we'll use a plural verb. The third person singular, he, she, it. If the subject is he, she, it will always take a singular verb with it. Like he works very hard, she likes coffee. The third person plural, they, takes a plural verb in all sentences, in all tenses. If we have they as a subject in a sentence, it will always take a plural verb with it. Let us look at the rule number 2. And the rule number 2 says, two or more singular nouns or pronouns joined by and require a plural verb. Means if in a sentence two or more singular nouns are there and they have been joined by the word and, they will take a plural verb. For example, gold and silver are precious metals. We have two singular subjects here, gold and silver. Both of them are joined by the word and. And the rule says that whenever two singular subjects are joined by and, they need a plural verb, which is are in this case. Let us see some more examples. Fire and water do not agree. Again we have used a plural verb do because we have two singular nouns and they are joined by the word and. He and I are playing. Verb is plural are because we have used two singular nouns and they are joined by the word and. However, there is an exception to this rule. Let us look at that exception. And the exception says that if the nouns suggest one idea to the mind or refer to the same person or thing, the verb is singular. Means in the sentence, if we have two nouns and they are joined by the word and, but if they are referring to the same person or same idea or same thing, will not use a plural verb, instead will use a singular verb. For example, bread and butter is his only food. I am referring to it as one idea. I am talking about bread and water as one. Therefore, I have used a singular verb here, which is. Look at the second sentence. The novelist and the poet is dead. Here, the novelist and poet referring to the same person. Means there was one person who is novelist as well as the poet who is dead. On the contrary, I have used one more example here where I have used a plural verb. The novelist and the poet are dead. But here is a difference. What is the difference? Here we are not talking about an individual. We are not talking about one person. Here I am talking about two different individuals. When in the case we are talking about different individuals, we require two articles. I have used the before the novelist and the before poet. And this shows that it is referring to two individuals. That is why I have used are in place of is. And the last example is honor and glory is his reward. Again, honor, glory, they are joined by the word and, but they are referring to one idea, one thing. That is why we have used a singular verb here, not a plural verb. Let us understand the rule number 3, which says that when the sentence begins with there or here, the verb must agree with the real subject that follows it. In this case, the subject actually comes after the verb. There is no way out. Way is the subject, which is after the verb is. There are only two chairs. Chairs is the subject, which is after the verb are. So we need to see the real subject and accordingly use the verb. If the subject is singular, we'll use a singular verb, and if it is a plural verb will be used. Have a look at the example. There is no way out. Singular subject is there, so singular verb has been used. There are only two chairs. We have used plural subject, so a plural verb is used. Come to rule number 4. Words joined to a singular subject by with, as well as, along with, unlike, besides, rather than, together with, in addition to, accompanied by are parenthetical. The verb should therefore be put in the singular. Means when the subject is separated from the verb by expressions like along with, as well as, besides, ignore these expressions. Completely ignore these expressions when determining whether to use a singular or plural verb, because these expressions are parenthetical. Means even if we do not use these expressions, our sentence is grammatically complete. So while determining the verbs, ignore these expressions. Come to the example. Silver as well as cotton has fallen in price. We have a singular subject, silver, so we have used a singular verb. As well as cotton, just ignore this. The ship with its crew was lost. Used a singular verb. The captain along with the sailors was drawn. Our subject is the captain, which is singular. So we have used a singular verb. Singular verb was. In other words, we can say that along with, as well as, besides do not behave in the same way as the conjunction and when it comes to subject-verb agreement, even though they have roughly the same meaning or function. If you can remember that there was a rule, I think the second rule, which says that when two nouns are joined by a word and, they always take a plural verb. But here in this case, if two words are joined with these expressions as well as, besides, along with, we always take a singular verb. Come to the rule number 5 of subject-verb agreement, and according to this rule, when two or more singular subjects are connected by or nor, it requires a singular verb. Means if in a sentence there are two or more singular subjects and they are connected with the word or nor, they will always take a singular verb. For example, our happiness or sorrow is largely due to our own actions. Here we have used two singular subjects, happiness and sorrow, and they are joined by a word or, so we have used a singular verb. In the second sentence, neither food nor water has to be found there. Again we have used two singular subjects, food and water, and they are connected with the word nor, so a singular verb was is used. In the third sentence, no nook or corner was left unexplored. Nook, corner, two singular subjects are joined with a word or, so a singular verb has been used to complete the sentence. Now there is an exception to this rule, and the exception is when one of the subjects joined by or nor is plural, the verb must be plural and the plural subject should be placed nearest the verb. Means when the subjects joined by or nor are of different numbers, the verb must be plural and the plural subject should be placed nearest the verb. Means you'll have to keep two things in your mind, that when two subjects are of different numbers have been used in a sentence and they are joined with or nor, they will always use a plural verb, and the plural subject should always be placed nearest the verb. For example, neither the chairman nor the directors are present. Here, one subject is chairman and one is directors. Chairman is singular, whereas directors is plural. And both the words are joined with the word nor. So according to the rule, we have used a plural verb depending upon the plural subject, and the plural subject is placed near to the verb. I hope it is clear to you. Now come to rule number 6. When the subjects joined by or not are of different persons, the verb agrees with the nearer subject. In the exception, we have talked about different numbers, but in rule number 6 we are talking about different persons. Means when the subject are of and the subjects are of two different persons and they are joined with or not, the verb will agree with the subject which is nearest. To understand the rule, let us see the example. The first example is either he or I am mistaken. Here two subjects have been used, he and I. Two subjects of different persons have been used, he and I. He is the third singular person, whereas I is the first person. And the rule says that when two subjects of different persons are joined by or not, it takes a verb according to the subject which is near to it. And here the first person pronoun I is near to am, so the verb agrees with the I. In the same way, the second sentence, neither you nor he is to blame. Again, two subjects of different persons have been used, you and he. You second person pronoun and he third person pronoun. And we have used is according to the he because it is near to the verb. Come to the rule number 7. When used for quantity, a lot of, plenty of take a singular verb. When these words used for a quantity, a lot of and plenty of, they always take a singular verb, like a lot of time has been wasted. However, there is an exception to this. When this quantity is given in number, like plenty of kids, your kids, a number has been given. So when a lot of and plenty of is used and the quantity is given in number, it will take a plural verb. So the example says the plenty of kids are going for the picnic, because here quantity is given kids, so we are using plural verb are. Now, 8th rule of subject-verb agreement is pertaining to pronoun, and the rule is that these pronouns here always take a singular verb. Let me read these pronouns for you. Either, neither, each, everyone, many, anybody, somebody, nobody, anyone, someone, no one, nothing, everything, anything, something. All these pronouns takes a singular verb. Let us look at the example. Many a man has done so. Here our pronoun is many a, and it takes a singular verb has, which is our rule also, right? So the sentence is correct. Whenever we have these pronouns in the sentence, we'll use a singular verb with it. Let us read out some more examples. Everyone has gone to watch the movie. Here we have used the pronoun everyone as the subject of a sentence, so we have used a singular verb has with it. Next, anything is possible. Each of these substances is found in India. Here substances is a plural noun which is near to the verb is, but we have used a singular verb because each has been used as a subject in the sentence. In the same way, neither of the two men was very strong. However, there are some pronouns or some indefinite pronouns that always take a plural verb, and those indefinite pronouns are both, few, many, several, etc. I have used some of them in sentences. For sentences, many have taken the test. Here our verb is have, which is plural in form, and this goes with the rule, right? Because many indefinite pronoun has been used as a subject in the sentence, so we will use a plural verb with it. A few are not coming. Again we have used a plural verb, and it is also right. But there are some more exceptions. Exceptions there, and I want you to see those exceptions to have a better clarity. What is the exception? Pronouns like some, any, none, all, most either take a singular verb or plural verb depending on its meaning. Means they can take a singular verb and they can also take a plural verb. It will completely depend on the meaning of the sentence. Let us understand these with the help of examples. First example, all my chicken is gone. Second is, all my chickens have gone. In both the sentences, I have used the pronoun all as a subject, but with one sentence I have used a singular verb is, and with the other subject I have used a plural verb have. Now this is because in the first sentence, chicken is a meat which is a uncountable noun. So, and that is why it is referred as a singular in the sentence. So I have used a singular verb is, and in the second sentence, all my chickens have gone. Here live chickens can be counted. Here we have live chickens and they can be counted, and so they are referred to as a plural. So I have used a plural verb with that. Some of the beets are missing. Next sentence is, some of the water is gone. You can see in both the sentences I have used some, but with one some I have used a plural verb are, and with the another some I have used a singular verb is. Why? Because in the first sentence, some of the beets are missing. Here beets is taken as countable noun, means among a number of beets, a part of beets means some of the beets are missing, means they can be counted. That is why I have used a plural verb here. But here some of the water is gone. Here water is taken as uncountable noun. Water is uncountable noun, so I have used a singular verb. Now come to the rule number 9 of subject-verb agreement. Two nouns qualified by each or every, though connected by and, require a singular verb. Please understand this. If there are two nouns in a sentence and they are qualified by either each or every, they will take a singular verb even though they are connected with and. Because in one rule we learned that if two singular subjects are connected with the word and, they are joined with the word and, we take a plural verb. But here, if two subjects are two nouns, we can say two subjects are connected with the verb and, but we are taking a singular verb because both the subjects are qualified by either each or every. That is why we are taking a singular verb. If in the sentence every or each would not have been there, we would have used a plural verb. But since the subject is qualified by the word each and every, that is why we are using a singular verb though it is connected by the word and. For example, every boy and every girl was given a packet of sweets. Boy, girl. Two subjects, and they are joined by the word and, but they are also qualified by the word every. So we have used a singular verb as per the rule. Every boy and girl was present in the class yesterday. Again, every qualifies boy and girl, so we are using a singular verb here. Rule number 10 says some nouns which are plural in form but singular in meaning, like measles, billiards, droughts, rickets, politics, news, take a singular verb. These nouns may seem like they are plural, probably because they have s at the last. That is why we are taking it as a plural. But remember, they are singular in meaning. They are singular in nature. So if they are singular in nature, they will obviously take a singular verb as per the subject-verb agreement rule. So the news is true. Here news is singular in nature. That is why it is taking a singular verb is. The wages of sin is death. Wages is again a singular noun. So it is taking a singular verb is. Mathematics is a branch of study in every school. Mathematics is singular in nature, so it is taking a verb is. Rule number 11 is just opposite of the rule number 10 that we have just learned. We have just read now. Some nouns look like singular but used as plural. For example, cattle, infantry, poultry, peasantry, children, gentry, police, people. They seem like that they are singular. Again, probably because there is no s at the end of the word. But these are singular, these are plural in nature. They may seem similar, but they are plural in meaning, plural in nature. So we'll use a plural verb with them. For example, cattle are grazing in the field. Your cattle is plural noun, that is why we are using a plural verb are. Our infantry have marched forward. Again, infantry is a plural noun, plural subject, so we are using a plural verb. Police have arrested the thieves. Police is plural in nature, plural in meaning, so we are using a plural verb according to the rule that plural subject takes a plural noun. Plural subject takes a plural verb and singular subject takes a singular verb. Let us understand the rule number 12 of subject-verb agreement, which is pertaining to the collective noun. A collective noun can be followed by a singular or plural verb depending on whether we treat the group as a unit or as a number of individuals plural. Let's understand this with these examples. The committee has issued its report. Here I have used a singular verb has because here the committee is referring to a group as a unit. That is why we have used a singular verb. In the next sentence, the committee are divided on one minor point. Here, committee is not referring to a group as a unit, it is referring to the individuals in the group. That is why we have used a plural verb are. Means there are some people in committee who do not agree on a point. Next sentence is the company is successful. Again here the company has been taken as a group, it is referring to the group as a unit, so we have used a singular verb. The companies are successful. Here the companies has been taken as plural, so we have used a plural verb. Come to the rule number 13. When a plural noun denotes some specific quantity or amount considered as a whole, the verb is generally singular. Means when a plural noun denotes a particular amount or quantity considered as whole, the verb is usually singular. For example, 15 minutes is allowed to each speaker. 3 parts of the business is left for me to do. 100 cents is equal to $1. Come to the rule number 14. And the rule number 14 says, when the plural noun is a proper noun for some single object or some collective unit, it must be followed by a singular verb. Means when a plural noun refers to an entity, it must be followed by a singular verb. For example, the Arabian Nights is still a great favorite. Here, the Arabian Nights is a plural proper noun, so we have used a singular verb is here. In the second sentence, Gulliver's Travels was written by Swift. Again, Gulliver's Travels is a plural proper noun, so we have used a singular verb was, which is according to the rule. Now, the next that we are going to learn about some of the problems we face while studying or while implementing subject-verb agreement rules. These are problems because they make subject-verb agreement a little tricky and difficult. Let's go ahead and take a look at these problems. Let us not use the word problem. Let us use some positive word for it, challenges. So have a look at the challenges of subject-verb agreement. Our first challenge is prepositional phrases. To understand this challenge, take a look at these examples. First example, the boy at the door is my brother. What is the subject in the sentence? Yes, the subject is the boy. And what is the verb in the sentence? It is yes. It is. And it is right, because it is following the rule of subject-verb agreement that a singular subject takes a singular verb and a plural subject takes a plural verb. We are having a singular subject here, the boy, so we have taken a singular verb, is. But what is this thing in the middle of the sentence? At the door. This is nothing but a prepositional phrase, because it is giving us more information about the boy. So my objective here is to tell you to do not get distracted by these prepositional phrases that come in the middle of the sentence. These are not our subject. So the subject here is the boy. Just make sure that the verb you use agree with the subject, boy. Agree with the subject, boy. And since we are talking about the boy, our verb would be is. So the boy at the door is my brother. Come to the second sentence. The car with many riders is speeding. For this, again, I would like to tell you that apply the golden rule. What is the golden rule? The golden rule is to identify the subject and then we can choose which verb will be used. So here in the sentence, our subject is the car. And the car is a singular in nature. So obviously we'll use a singular verb, is. Again, with many riders. It is somewhere in the middle of the sentence. It is again a prepositional phrase because it is giving some extra information about the car. Children, do not get confused with the word riders. Riders, there is a noun riders which is just before the verb. Sometimes students get confused and they use the verb according to the noun which is near to the verb. I would like to tell you that please identify the proper subject and then only apply the verb. Do not get distracted with these prepositional phrases. Our second challenge is clauses. Who, that, which. For example, a dog that loves its owners deserves a reward. What is our subject here? A dog. It is a singular subject, so it has taken a singular verb, deserves, correct? But again we have something in the middle of the sentence, that is that loves its owners. It's a clause. Again I would like to tell you, do not get distracted with the word owners. Owners is not our subject. Our subject is a dog. So we will take a verb according to a dog, not according to the owners. Let's see one more example of it. Anyone who arrives late is welcomed. Here, let us find out our subject. Our subject is anyone, which is singular in nature. So we'll use the singular verb is, right? Who arrives late? It is a clause that has just came in the middle of the sentence. It is just a distractor. Do not get distracted with these clauses or prepositional phrase. Always remember that golden rule to identify the subject and then use a verb according to the subject. So students, these were the rules of subject-verb agreement, and please keep these rules in mind while framing sentences. I hope I have been able to help you with this topic. Now it's time for your assignment. There is an exercise given here. In each of the following sentences, you'll have to supply a verb in agreement with its subject. I know you will be able to solve it. I have also prepared answer for this exercise that I'll share with you on Google Classroom day after tomorrow. After having this video, if you have any doubt, any difficulty, you are welcome to clear your doubts. Till then, bye and thank you.